Around the country, statues of Confederate leaders and famous racists have been coming down. Not just the country, the world, indeed. And as that's going on, people have started to wonder, why do we have military bases named after Confederate leaders? Doesn't that seem a little bit weird? And so some people have said, including the Secretary of the Army and Esper, have said, you know, we're open to a conversation about potentially renaming these things. Well, not everyone supports that. There was a tweet from Jeff Mason, who is in the White House press briefing room, who said, this statement was just passed around to reporters ahead of the briefing, and we have a picture that he posted of the statement, apparently written by Trump, that says, it has been suggested that we should rename as many of 10 of our capital L legendary military bases, such as Fort Bragg, Fort Hood, Fort Benning. These capital M monumental and very capital P powerful capital B bases. I don't know what any of this means.
This is how I read it to the morning pitch meeting for TYT.
Did you?
Too. Yeah, and then I gave up and just started shouting the capitalized words.
Okay, I'll do that. Have become part of a great American heritage and a history of winning, victory, and freedom. Because when I think winning, I think Confederacy. The United States...
I went to the TurboGrafx 16 School of Video Games.
Exactly.
Like, why are you naming it after losers? I went to the France School of War. Like, what?
Yeah. There's going to be like a great museum on the evolution of video technology. It's the HD DVD Museum. No,
but it would
you don't even have to the winners.
But it's like, but no, it's not the museum. Mm-hmm. Museums, I get, like, we want to, I'll put it in, it belongs in a museum, maybe. Mm-hmm. But with this specifically, it's like you should name your college after a smart person. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't name your college after a dumb person.
Failed, yeah.
That's like Trump University. Maybe that's why he wants to keep it with these Confederate names, because he named his place of learning after a total frickin' moron, and he wants to name his place of training troops and military strategy after a frickin' loser.
Traitors and losers, effectively. But he goes on to say, the United States of America trained and deployed our heroes on these hallowed grounds. That's not how hallowed ground works, by the way. I mean, it doesn't actually mean anything, but that's not what hallowed ground is, just some base. But the battleground is hallowed, not the base, you idiot. He literally knows absolutely nothing about the military war, to the point where he can't even fake it. And won 2 world wars, therefore my capital M administration will not even consider the renaming of these magnificent and fabled military fabled? Our history is the greatest nation.
Remember on that military and installation, a rabbit raced a tortoise.
Exactly. Okay, so here's the thing. That is a ridiculous statement substantively, but also, like, look at it. The weird capitalization, all of that. It's like something a crazy person or a child has scribbled out. That's not just my perception. Kayleigh McEnany has been throwing Trump under the bus, whether purposefully or not, all week. I want you to see what she said about that. Ely Stokels, who's the White House reporter for the LA Times, said, Kayleigh McEnany then read it, saying it's, quote, directly from president. He spent a good bit of time working on that.
I mean, if you watch Kayleigh during these things, it is at times horrible, but now it's become more and more delicious to watch Kayleigh McEnany, because it is very clear she already hates her job.
Like, instantly.
She's not as good as Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who memorized those things, who was way better at memorizing
and internalized it, really.
And Kayleigh McEnany gets to a point in the press conferences now where she just goes, she like pulls it out and she like holds it up and she's like, it has been suggested that we should rename military base. And you see the hello darkness, my old friend. And it's so interesting to watch all of his press secretaries reach that point, except for one, Hope Hicks, who was like, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Or they were just like, she is not good at all. Don't let her out there.
Yeah, I think Sarah Huckabee Sanders was the best, because to do this job, you have to not have anything inside you. You have to be a barren wasteland inside that doesn't care about truth or your reputation or have any shame or anything like that. The ones who failed, even Spicer, like, would laugh as he said some of these things. Like, he couldn't help but acknowledge the farce that he was a part of.
Well, Spicer, you could see like the gears frying and smoke coming out of his ears. So there's a visual indication that something was wrong.
Yeah.
Kayleigh's is now when she starts to read stuff, you know that she really doesn't agree with it. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I said this when she replaced Spicer. It's like now we're not, for her, we couldn't, it took more understanding of the issues to really understand what the crazy was that she was saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, look, we've made references to the fact that, you know, it's not just that they were Confederate, but on the merits, it doesn't necessarily make sense. I want to give you one example of that. And so here's a write-up from Alex Horton on the Washington Post about Fort Benning, which is in Georgia. He says, Fort Benning in Georgia, the home of Army infantry and airborne training, is named after Brigadier General Henry Benning, who led troops at Antietam and Gettysburg. In remarks in 1861, laying out slavery as the reason for secession. Remember, like now, they pretend that wasn't the reason. They weren't pretending at the time. Benning warned that abolition would lead to, quote, black governors, black legislatures, black juries, black everything. Is it to be supposed that the white race will stand for that? That's the person that the base is named for in Georgia. The guy who's like, we're just going to allow black stuff to be around?
No, I have a solution. We don't have to change the name Fort Benning, but we do have to change the whole name if it's Fort Henry Benning. It will now be Fort Annette Benning because she's a national treasure. When she was in charge, the kids were all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she did have trouble. She married Bugsy, Warren Beatty, but he's gorgeous still. He's 900 years old. But we should call it Fort Annette Benning.
Okay.
And Fort Not to Brag.
Fort Not to Brag. What do you got for Hood, man? What do you got for Hood?
Fort Hoodie.
Ford, okay.
It's a casual. It's a casual.
Ford, pop your hood. I don't know. Look, we have other, like, if you're gonna name it after heroes from the military, I think we can come up with other ones. How about we name it for people who fought on the winning side in the Civil War? How about that? There were some. Some of these leaders, like literally the names are for people who were removed from their positions in the Confederate military during the Civil War because they were failures then. They lost their jobs because they were bad at them. And then we turn around and say, oh no, we should definitely remember them for the next 155 years. It's madness.
So ridiculous. And this and the Confederate monuments, it's just proof that the Union won the Civil War but surrendered during Reconstruction.
True. Sad but true. Oh, also I should probably mention, supposedly, wait for this news to be, you know, like preempted by them surrendering, but supposedly the Republican-led Senate Armed Services Committee has reportedly defied President Donald Trump and has adopted a resolution to push for the renaming of American military bases that were named after Confederate generals. I don't know if they can actually do that without Trump being able.
I didn't mean to throw that up. In 3 years. I thought it was like within 3 years.
Yes. It might not happen at all, and he could theoretically strike it down. Although I would assume that if he loses in November, that's one thing that could probably change. We have 1 million heroes. Name it. Anyway. Okay.
Do like Captain America.
The Steve Rogers base. That's what you want. Yes. I say go for it. Name after Tony Stark. Come on, dude made weapons. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.